What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. Before I throw it over to Matt, if you guys are tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive and join from there so we can see and interact with your comments. If you're commenting on Twitter, we're not ignoring you. We just can't see it. Links in the little banner scrolling across the screen right now. Now that I got all that mambo jumbo out of my mouth, Matt, how are you doing? Happy New Year. How's your day going?
Happy New Year, Zach. Day's not too bad. I'm well rested after being in the hospital all last night, working. Trust me, the 49ers didn't put me there, although they certainly tried with yesterday's game. So let's just jump into a really way too close for comfort game against the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday.
Yeah, it was, man. I know you were working, like you said, you weren't able to do the preview show, but Mike and I, both of us had a 21-point win predicted for this game, and it certainly was not that. Jarrett Stidham came out and absolutely, I don't want to say annihilated, but diced up the 49ers defense. Only Patrick Mahomes had done something similar to that this year. The Las Vegas Raiders ended up putting, I think, 500 total yards, if not over 500 total yards on the 49ers offense, or excuse me, on the 49ers defense. So it was just completely unexpected. Do you think this was more of a case of new quarterback, no tape on, and he, everybody laughed at Kyle Shanahan when he said he could make all the same throws that Derek Carr can, but it kind of looked like he could.
Yeah, I think this is just a situation. One, it's partly that. Two, I think you're traveling. It's New Year's Eve. It's Las Vegas. You're on an 8-game winning streak. And a couple of days before the game, it seems like Josh McDaniels and the Raiders were punting on the season, despite still having an opportunity to, an outside shot at making the playoffs before they lost yesterday to the 49ers. I think it is a situation where the defense started feeling themselves before the game. We got this. We got this. We got this. Because usually it's like if something happens with the defense, D'Amico Ryans will adjust at half. The team will come out stronger. They gave up more points in the second half than they gave in the first half. And we got that Fox Chiron jinx, by the way, where they said the 49ers hadn't given up any points inside of the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. And sure enough, the Raiders drove right down the field and were able to score. I think it's a situation where this was a complacency, right? They looked at Jarrett Stidham and like, this is not a good quarterback. This team doesn't care. And it wasn't until they had that fourth down at the goal line stand and then in overtime where you really saw the team with its back against the wall absolutely have to dial in and do something. So much like you said, when Kansas City diced up the team and then they went on this 8-game winning streak where they weren't giving up points, I think that in the grand scheme of things, while they came out flat, this is like a blip in the radar and something that was much needed to dial them in for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part. Not only us, but we've heard it from the national media for the past 4 weeks, however long Brock Purdy's been starting. Oh, yeah, he's playing well, but anybody can look good with a lead and a good running game. Well, they had a good running game yesterday, but they definitely did not have a big lead. And Brock Purdy still was able to play well. I know he missed some throws. I think he went into halftime with like 32 yards, which was crazy to me because I thought he was playing well. He missed some throws, definitely, but he comes out in the second half and I think has like over 200 yards in the second half for sure. Finishes with like 280 yards and 2 touchdowns in that pick. What was your overall take on Brock Purdy's performance?
Yeah, he looked a little scattershot to begin. I thought that he was leaving, some wide open stuff on the table in order to get underneath safe stuff. I think at one point he had like 11 completions for 30, like you said, 36 yards. It was like very poor yards per attempt. And then in the second half, you saw him kind of loosen up a little bit. Maybe a little too loose, as we'll get into. I thought that, there were a couple of big misses that it was just like, oof, pretty bad. He had kind of addressed those in the post game. It was particularly that deep route to Kittle that was wide open, and he just did not put enough under the ball. He should have led him towards the end zone, but he kind of threw up one of those college really high, soft, arcing deep throws that allowed the cornerback to come in late and make a play on it. I thought that, it was a good test for him to be able to overcome adversity, overcome a deficit. It was the first time as a starter that he's trailed in a game. Um, and, you know, he was able to step up and make throws when it absolutely counted. And that can't go unnoticed. And it was pretty impressive at the end of the day. He did make some absolutely really good throws. Um, but it's the type of game that he needed, and it kind of like sets them up. And you can trust this guy in the playoffs to make the throws. But luck did play a little bit in that too, as we'll get into.
Yeah, 100% agree. I have the clip here when he was asked about that miss to George Kittle down the field on the right side of the field that was intercepted. I'm going to play it. Let me just change the screen here.
Yeah, I got the edge. We had what we wanted, but that backside corner came up sort of late. And when I threw it to George, I thought there was no one else out there, and all I had to do was just give him a ball to catch, and then you'd have a big gain. But the corner came a little late, and I didn't put enough on it to get him out there. I just got to lead him. And that's something that I got to watch and learn from.
I thought that was a pretty good answer. Pretty honest, I think. And Kyle Shanahan kind of said the same thing. He just straight up did think there was another defender out there. He missed that backside corner. And I do think also it was a little bit of, like you said, his arm kind of coming back to bite him, and he didn't have the ability to kind of really get that out in front of him. Maybe he would have been able to put a little more accuracy on it if he saw that backside defender, but either way, it was still missing a little bit on it.
Yeah. I think there was another throw. I think it was Jennings, where Jennings had the corner beat, and he had to kind of hold up for the ball. And that was one again where that's 6 if Purdy just gets it out in front. I think it's just kind of he's trying to feather it, and sometimes you just got to let it rip. So, but he did that. He did have some throws. There was a third down throw to Jennings over the middle where he lasered one in there. It was a really good throw. There were a couple to Ayuk. It was really cool and really important that Brock Purdy, it seems like for the first time in crunch time, really looked to Brandon Ayuk, and Brandon Ayuk came up big. I think that those two getting on the same wavelength is something that's absolutely important for the offense going forward. And Ayuk finished with 101 yards and a touchdown. I think in the first half, I think he only had that 2-yard touchdown catch, and then everything else seemed to come after halftime. So, whereas the last couple of weeks had been George Kittle, and this week it was Brandon Ayuk, and it's good that Purdy is kind of like working his way around. It'll be important for him to feel comfortable with the guys that he has, and then try to incorporate Deebo Samuel back into the offense once Deebo gets back. But again, this is Brock Purdy. I mean, his lowest output total in his starts is against Seattle, 21 points. Everything else has been in the 30s, including that Miami game where, they had only had 7 when he came in, and he was able to, lead them. So he does make the offense move. And I think it goes without saying that the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey has been absolutely huge, because he was, again, a beast. He had 193 yards from scrimmage, a touchdown, just absolutely outstanding. Just a really, really good player, and a bold pickup. I talked to a lot of 49er fans at first. It's like, oh man, we paid too much for Christian McCaffrey. And then, you ask a lot of them, hey, how much did we pay for Christian McCaffrey? And they're like, not enough at this point, So I think both teams, this is a rare win-win. I think that Carolina gets a lot of picks. They can still run the ball, but Christian McCaffrey in this offense in particular makes a huge difference for this team. And it's allowed the 49ers offense to just go to the next level.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, people are saying, Christian McCaffrey was huge. Christian McCaffrey, trade of the year. I had to rock the Run CMC shirt because, I mean, the dude put out, like you said, 19 carries, 120 yards. He was averaging 6.5 yards per carry, including that 37-yard run. I think that got him down to like the 1-yard line. He's been unreal, and what he's done for this offense. I mean, that alone should make John Lynch executive of the year, but once you take into consideration everything else, we'll get into that a little later, but man, Christian McCaffrey has just totally allowed Kyle Shanahan to open up the book with this offense, and it really is impressive. Going back to Brandon Ayuk, I agree with you. I think this is the first time we've really seen him and Brock Purdy gel to that extent. Aside from that deep pass before half against Tampa that went for a touchdown, we haven't really seen much, at least volume-wise, of Brandon Ayuk getting involved. And yesterday, that slant, how many times have we both said that, Matt? That Brandon Ayuk slant for 7-8 yards is there almost every time. Well, Brock Purdy saw that and was taking advantage and hitting it over and over and over again, especially in the fourth quarter. So impressive stuff.
Yeah, and you talk about tight window throws. I mean, some of those replays, I mean, the ball is just going right by a defender's hand and just getting through. Brock Purdy is not afraid to make those, one step, turn it and let it loose throws. And again, makes the easy look easy, right? That should be a play. That's one that, Jimmy is pretty good at. It's one that admittedly Trey Lance has struggled with. Brock Purdy's able to make that throw and make it look easy. And yesterday that was critical for the 49ers. There was, I think it was a 3rd and 8 where that was the case, where he critically hit Brandon Ayuk, and they were able to get down and at least, Robbie Gould being Robbie, Brock Purdy did exactly what he was supposed to do. He led a potentially game-winning drive. You put it in the hands of a kicker who's supposed to be, good as gold or whatever, and missed a 43 as an imminently makeable field goal. Yeah. They were able to make it up in overtime, but Brock Purdy did his job, and plays like that slant to Brandon Ayuk, being able to take advantage of Brandon Ayuk, who has really emerged as the best pure wide receiver on the 49ers, is big. So kudos to the offense. It's why I think that a lot of what happened yesterday was the defense just kind of overlooking this Raiders team, because the offense came to play and they consistently drive after drive after drive after drive. When they got opportunities, they moved the ball. I don't remember how many punts they had. 2 punts overall, just the 1 interception by Brock Purdy. Everything else seemed to be, drive stalling or whatever else, drives extended for the Raiders based on penalties. I thought the officiating yesterday was terrible. The defense couldn't get pressure. I think that was part of it too. I watched Nick Bosa get tackled over and over and over again, and we need to talk about how the refs officiate him, because it's starting to become an issue. You hear about, officiating for somebody like LeBron James or like a Michael Jordan is super hard. I think Nick Bosa is getting into that category. What they were doing yesterday was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, overall, I thought the offense played really well. Now, the same can't be said for the defense, which I'm sure we're about to get into.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to share one more thing on Brock Purdy. Also, I just wanted to throw in before I pull this up that this is the exact type of thing we've all wanted to see. Like I said earlier, from Brock, adversity in the sense of nothing is really going well. This is a shootout type game. Can you handle it? Can you still get the 49ers across the finish line? And he did. I wanted to pull up this tweet from Akash. He throwaways per PFF. Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock, 5 throwaways in 4 games. Jimmy Garoppolo, 4 throwaways in 11 games.
I don't believe that Jimmy Garoppolo has ever thrown a ball away on purpose.
I'd be interested to see what they
classified. I want to see which 4. Yeah,
I was thinking that was the first thing that came to my mind. But he makes a great point. Purdy's ability to avoid negative plays and live to fight another down. You avoid going from 2nd and 15 to it's just back to 2nd and 10, or 3rd and 18. This play really impressed me because it's just Brian Baldinger said it best. Is he quick? He's quick enough. And does he have a strong arm? His arm up for the most part has been strong enough. So I'm going to play this clip, him avoiding the pressure and still living to fight another down. That little move right there really impressed me. It's not going to show up on the stat sheet. Obviously, it's not a big gain or anything. He throws it away, but it's a scrap. You toss the play and start again. So that impressed me for Brock Purdy and just everything we were able to see from him.
Yeah. It's like it's that classic trope in like a battle, right? Where the big lumbering dude is going after the small, quick dude. And yeah, Brock Purdy planting his foot in the ground and being able to, make the rusher just kind of like fall to his knees and just give himself again, because he only takes one more step before that ball is out of his hand. And he's like, nope, we're chucking and ducking on this play. So we're just getting this out of here. And that's what you got to do. I feel like particularly after 2018, Jimmy Garoppolo is the type that if he sees that free rusher, he's not necessarily trying to get away.
Right.
I think at that point with that defender that close, closing that fast, that's when we're kind of Jimmy just tucks and takes the sack.
Yep.
I've seen way less of that with Brock Purdy, and it's been pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, I agree. He wasn't sacked once yesterday, which is crazy because he was certainly pressured like crazy.
A lot of pressure, particularly, I thought, and I haven't seen, I guess we'll do injury updates, but, particularly after Banks went out, I thought that the pressure stepped up a little bit more, actually.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I haven't. Okay, so we could do the injury updates right now if you'd like. I'm trying to pull them up. Let me see here. This per NBC Sports. Guard Aaron Banks is expected to miss the 49ers regular season finale with ankle and knee sprains, but the team is hopeful he'll be available for the first postseason game. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw did not get a full evaluation on a back injury that forced him out of the game, but Kyle Shanahan said optimistic that he'll be back soon. So that's really good for Aaron Banks because I was expecting him to be out like, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks or some crap like that with an MCL sprain. Luckily, it wasn't all that. So, and Daniel Brunskill came in and for what it's worth, played relatively well.
Listen, all I know is that I saw Brunskill on that screen pass to Christian McCaffrey make a diving block. That was sick.
Superman.
I would just say he Superman dove to just give Christian McCaffrey that inch of space that he needed. And I thought that was really impressive. I mean, hey, risk it for the biscuit, right? Like he definitely went out there and did it. I think it's important that the 49ers get healthy. The Dre Greenlaw injury was really interesting to me just from a mechanical, because like he had one leg on the ground, his other leg was up, and Fred kind of like pushed his leg back. That to me seems more like like maybe like a pulled muscle or something like that, just because of the way he like bent weird. I don't think that's going to be a long lasting injury. I wouldn't guess, particularly as you saw him, run off to the sideline. And then I think I don't know if it was a touchdown. I think it was a touchdown where they showed like the sideline angle and you see Dre Greenlaw like run into the shot.
He's jogging.
It seems like he's going to be okay. I'm more worried about Banks, especially, with the weight that offensive linemen have to carry around. The fact that he's had to do a lot of hard work to really, get his feet quicker, and he's done a great job, coming into his own, his second year. I think the optimism will be a little bit higher if the 49ers can kind of hope for a Philly loss to New York and they take care of business against the wingless birds in Arizona. They got them coming out to San Francisco, and we'll see if they can get business done. That extra week off, I think, will be really helpful for the team just from a health perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into this defense, because this was something I think all of us are worried about now after seeing yesterday. And I'll ask you, once I break down the final score and all the stats, if it's cause for concern going into the postseason. Like I said, they gave up 34 points to the Raiders led by Jarrett Stidham. They allowed 500 total yards. Stidham was 23 for 34, 365 yards, 3 TDs, and the 2 interceptions. Was not sacked once. Take that with a grain of salt, because like we said, Bosa was being held. Ebicom was being held. I mean, they were holding all day, weren't calling it. I think they got one holding call against them the entire game. It wasn't until like the third quarter. Josh Jacobs with a season high against the 49ers, rushing total 69 yards on 17 carries. And Devontae Adams just absolutely torching Diamador Lenore. 7 receptions for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, including 1 long of 60 yards. Obviously, that wasn't all on Lenore, but most of it was. With that all said, how concerned are you moving forward?
Overall, I think this was a blip in the radar. One of those games where you have that letdown game, because again, you're feeling yourself. You're on an 8-game winning streak. You're traveling. It's New Year's Eve. You're in Las Vegas, which is like, a travel destination. I'm sure a lot of the 49ers were looking ahead after the move was made from Derek Carr to Jarrett Stidham to, hey, what are we going to do after the game, right? It's going to be New Year's Day. We're in Vegas. Where you want to go eat? Do you want to go to this 5-star restaurant, this 5-star restaurant? Do we want to go? It's one of those things where players can get distracted and take their eye off the ball. And the NFL, it has a way of humbling people. And I think that this defense got a little humble pie yesterday and they took their eye off the ball. The one area that definitely concerns me, I am really, really, really tired of seeing Talanoa Hufanga's name on the broadcast in a negative light. Once again, Talanoa Hufanga is blowing coverages, blowing assignments. The touchdown early to Darren Waller, that was his. He went up to make a play on Jared Stidham and completely just left Devontae Adams and just dropped him off to whoever and was like, here you go, fellas. It's those type of things that make me worry about him overall. I think that the 49ers really need to take a look at ways to minimize the amount of mistakes that he can make. Because while he's good, again, Scott in our chat put it this way, he's like a less athletic version of Jamal Adams at this point. He is not good in coverage. And then the other person that really is bothering me is Fred Warner. Silly personal foul, Fred Warner giving up things in coverage. Those two in coverage, there are issues, and teams are going to take advantage of that. So overall, I think it's not a huge deal, but those two, it's just killing me. I think Lenoir is doing the best that he can. He just had a bad game yesterday. That late catch given up to Devontae Adams, I don't think that was a catch. I just don't think there was enough to overrule. So that one was, a little less egregious, but it's a game of inches. And so the 49ers have some work to do, and hopefully D'Amico Ryans can shape the boys up for the next performance. I would expect them to come out and dominate against the Cardinals for sure.
Yeah. I'm actually glad this performance happened now. If we look back, the 49ers 2019, they dropped that one second to last week in Atlanta or versus Atlanta at home. They've had some kind of late season stinkers, and they're basically, we all know them as trap games. They happen. I'll put this out there. The Chiefs struggled with the Broncos. I know they're with their court backup, but we're with our third string. The Eagles just lost to the Saints. Like, these top rated contenders are also either losing or playing close games against teams that they were heavily favored against. So it's not just the 49ers, but I do agree with the chat. It's not too concerning, but it is cause for concern. And there are things to coach these players on. The one thing I'll say about Lenoir, yes, he kind of got cooked all day, but you're going to get up against, in my opinion, the second best receiver in the NFL. And in his defense, he was in position almost every throw. He just wasn't able to get his arm in there.
And here's the other thing too. He's also going against one of the better tight ends in the league, right? Let's not sleep on Darren Waller, who's really good. Yeah, Devontae Adams has 95 catches for 1,400 plus yards, and he leads the NFL in touchdown catches. So, those type of things. I don't want to say that people are overmatched. Playing corner is one of the hardest things to do. There's no such thing as a lockdown corner anymore. It's always a team effort, and sometimes it's just going to be what it is. Devontae Adams was able to get his yesterday. Darren Waller was able to get his yesterday, but beyond that, they did a pretty good job covering. So it is what it is. What worries me more it's not Ward and Lenoir, essentially, who are really trying to match up and be in the pocket of somebody, right? What's more worrying for me is somebody like Hufanga, who has a specific assignment that he has to go over and be in position for. And a lot of times he's not. Again, the Waller touchdown stands out where it looked like he had deep half to that side and just completely released him and let him run free. And it's those things, or it's the communicating and being off kilter. I think this is game number 4 or 5 in a row where you can attribute a touchdown pass specifically to Talanoa Hufanga blowing an assignment. And that to me is what is more worrying than anything.
Yeah, I think teams have figured out they could bait him with, the underneath runs, underneath routes, go to those early, and then bait him into biting on that and take the deep shot. Hopefully this is something D'Amico. If I'm seeing it from my couch, clearly D'Amico Ryans has to be seeing it as well from the sidelines. So I'm hoping that this is all going to be coached up. This is something you can coach him up on. But I do think that I've seen it in the chat, Sean. He's a do or die type guy. We agree. He's big play or
Yeah.
Salmon, and he's been
Here's
salmon
the
lately.
problem though. When's the last time he made a really big play rather than give up a big play? Right? Do or die guy. That's cool until you actually die. It's easy to say I can live with his mistakes because the team is winning. But if that mistake comes in the playoffs or Super Bowl, are we going to live with that? That's where you want to shore things up, right? The thing is, like, people talk about it all the time. Diggs for Tavon Diggs for the Cowboys. A lot of interceptions, gives up a lot of yards too. So, people roast him on Twitter. Well, they were playing the other day. I think, I forgot who they were playing on Thursday night.
Titans.
And I think it was, I don't know. He got absolutely cooked by somebody. Oh no, it was when they were playing the Eagles. It was from Eagles week, and AJ Brown absolutely cooked him on a route, like turned him completely around and just ran right by him. It's cool to be do or die, but when you have somebody like Diggs who jumped on a slant route and then AJ Brown is by you, that's a free touchdown. Yeah. So you can't actually, do those things unless you're going to be making big plays, because Talanoa Hufanga certainly doesn't have 11 interceptions like Diggs did last year.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is something, like I said, I'm glad it happened week 16, week 17, and not the divisional round, not the championship game, because we all knew that the team was kind of due for one. Going 8 straight, playing flawlessly is very hard to do.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be last week against Washington because of the way Washington's defense played. But yeah, I was worried about it coming up.
Yeah, same. Okay, so let's play a quick game. Randy, I see your question. I'll get to that after this. If I told you in August, Matt, the 49ers are they 12-4 now? No, yeah, 12-4. 12-4 with the shot at the number 1 seed. Brandon Ayuk's 44 yards away from 1,000 yards on the year. They have a running back who just had 1,000 yards rushing. I know, we'll take that as is. What would you think back 6 months ago, knowing all of this? They're 12-4, 1 game away from the number 1 seed. Brandon Ayuk's having a career year. They have 1,000-yard rusher. What would you think about how the year went? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have thought that it would have been a perfect introduction of Trey Lance. It would have been, hey, Trey Lance popped. He really likes working with Brandon Ayuk, and Elijah Mitchell stayed healthy. That would have been my impression. If you would have told me 6 months ago, that's what would have happened. But this season has been absolutely crazy with what the 49ers have had to endure. And the fact that they're in position to maybe be the top seed in the NFC just speaks volumes. I mean, can we just listen? Nick Sirianni loses Jalen Hurts for 2 games, and they lose. They're 0-2. Kyle Shanahan's on his 3rd quarterback. Can we just give Kyle Shanahan the trophy for Coach of the Year? Can we just give John Lynch Executive of the Year? Can we just stop with this stupid narrative that Nick Sirianni is somehow doing a better job at coaching than Kyle Shanahan? He's not. Okay. This is absolutely wild. Yeah, I would have thought all the things that I said. Trey Lance pops, Elijah Mitchell stays healthy, but the fact that it's, Christian McCaffrey and it's the 49ers on their 3rd quarterback, absolutely wild.
Yeah, I agree. I would have probably thought Trey Lance is in, conversation for MVP. Deebo Samuel must be having a career year as well. Elijah Mitchell is having a career year, but all of that didn't happen. Yet the 49ers are still here. A team 10 weeks ago was 3-4. Now is only 1 loss behind the Philadelphia Eagles. And like you said, everybody, I keep seeing on Twitter, yeah, but the Eagles lost Jalen Hurts, yada, yada, yada. It's no excuse. The 49ers are down to their 3rd string rookie quarterback. It's not like Gardner Minshew was a 7th round pick. He's been in the league for a couple of years already too. So it's less of an excuse, air quotes, than Kyle Shanahan has. And he's still producing where Nick Sirianni is not. So I 100% agree with you. Kyle Shanahan should be Coach of the Year. John Lynch should be Executive of the Year for the team he's been able to put together here with Kyle. Let's get into this question here from Randy. Slightly off topic. Is Trent still tipping plays? Anyone paying attention? Is that why we're better, or is it hogwash? No offense to Jesse Naylor. Just curious.
Who said that did Jesse Naylor said that we're better because Trent isn't tipping?
No, just that the whole tipping thing in general was Jesse Naylor kind of found that on too.
Oh, I just think that Honestly, I think that the team's offense has gone to a completely different level since they got Christian McCaffrey specifically. And then I think that Brock Purdy does some things well that lead to better outcomes. I think he takes less sacks, is able to throw the ball away more, and is able to get the football outside the numbers a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it probably wasn't ever that big of a deal. But if it was, it's definitely not anymore. Let's see. Going into some. Kyle Shanahan's been balling out 100%. Vikings were overdue. We all knew Vikings were frauds. It was only a matter of time. I mean, they're I think they have a minus 11 point differential on the year.
They got worked. They got absolutely lambasted. Yeah. And by the way, shout outs to the Packers and Jair Alexander specifically for being able to contain Justin Jefferson, because I think depending on the outcome of tonight, because I mean I have like a 60-point lead with Joe Burrow still to go, but I think I'm going to win my fantasy league. So shout outs to the Packers. Although I will say, man, that big hat thing is so silly. I can't stand it. Although I guess we finally found a hat big enough to contain the ego of David Lombardi. His head's getting big lately, so.
That tweet that he had the other week, I've literally been right about everything.
They've memed it. It's a meme now. So
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I've literally been right about everything, but nice try. Like, bro.
Randy Daytona. Anybody see that video? Ron Rivera didn't know he could be eliminated from the playoffs. Not good. That was surprising.
That is not good.
No.
Surprising from somebody usually as dialed in and respected as Riverboat Ron.
Yep. Let's see. Deception, tactical, insistence, and theoretical positioning. Facts stopped 49 players' creativity. All right. Brock Purdy greater than Jimmy Garoppolo in some areas.
Yeah. I mean, particularly given circumstance and situation and experience, I think that the career trajectory for Brock Purdy looks better than Jimmy Garoppolo just based off of where he is now.
Yeah. Gardner's a 6th rounder. Purdy surpasses him by far. 30 points, 3 of the last 4. Let's go. Yep. Gardner's been pretty good in the NFL, though. Yep. And a lot more experience than Brock has. Emiliano, they might give the coach of the year to Brian Dable because of the New York Giants, New York, East Coast bias. Also, he's doing it with Danny Dimes. I could totally see them giving it to
all due respect. No fucking way. Absolutely zero chance. Zero chance. Yeah. Less than zero chance.
I thought Robert Saleh was going to get it earlier in the year, but that team just.
Right. Robert Saleh or Mike McDaniels, but nope.
Yep. All right. What were you, what or who, however you want to answer this question, most impressed you yesterday from the 49ers win?
Again, I have to go with Brock Purdy just simply because, again, very pedestrian first half, looked very scattershot, but made the plays that he had to, was able to come back and just consistently in the second half, drive after drive after drive, was able to lead the 49ers down the field and score. And for a quarterback that had been comfortable playing with the lead, this was really the last unanswered question that we had in terms of, can he come back? Can he do things when the pressure is on, when you have to get a first down, when you have to get a touchdown, when you have to get a score? Can he do enough to put the 49ers in position to do that? And I think that he was able to do that really well yesterday. So yeah, Brock Purdy for me. Also, Acebra, I will give a little bit of love to Slim Mike. He did do a pretty good job against Max Crosby.
Yeah, he did. And we saw Eric Armstead come out afterwards and say, you know, everybody talking crap about Mike McGlinchey. Well, how are you now? You know, he played against one of the league's best. And yeah, he played well. He played well. I'll give him that. I think for me, it would have to be Kyle Shanahan not pissing his leg in the heat of the moment. You know what I mean? Like before today, the only game I think out of like 34 games, if I remember the stat correctly, that the 49ers won when trailing 10 or more points in the second half was last week, week 17 or week 18 against the Rams. to go to the playoffs. That was the only time Kyle Shanahan's ever overcome a 10 or more point deficit in the second half. Well, they did it yesterday with a rookie quarterback. We all know everything about Brock, so I'm not going to get into that. But it was impressive to see him trust Brock and allow him to make the throws, to have his moment as well. Because yes, Brock Purdy is making these throws for you into tight windows, but it all stems from Kyle Shanahan trusting him and calling the plays for him to get there.
Absolutely. And actually, the last throw before they were able to, get Robbie out on the field so that he could shank one, ended up being a dangerous play just because the ball was tipped. It went up in the air, and thank goodness Brandon Ayuk was in position to make a play. But, I want to say dialing up that play in that situation, pretty gutsy on Kyle's part. And if you watch the replay, if Purdy wasn't getting hit and / tipped, George Kittle was wide open, and that's where Purdy was trying to throw the ball. That would have been a game-winning touchdown. That would have been the game. So, yeah, shout-outs to Kyle Shanahan, who definitely trusts, and that's part of the frustration too, right? Because early on in the season, it's like, really hard to get a beat on what Kyle thinks of somebody like Trey Lance, because that's not how Kyle was calling plays for Trey Lance. Like, he didn't trust Trey Lance to throw the football. So this is, a much better situation, I think, in terms of Kyle being able to trust somebody to do the right thing with the ball, and just speaks to the confidence that he has in Brock Purdy. And, it's one of those things where Brock Purdy made plays when he had to. And that's very, very, very heartening to see come playoff time,
This game 100% reminded me of last year's game against the Bengals. That game where back and forth, the 49ers had a bigger lead, and then Joe Burrow led the Bengals back into it. But still, the way the 49ers were able to drive down the field at the end, that game was George Kittle making these miraculous catches. This game was Brandon Ayuk. And then we have the Robbie Gold shank kick, and then he ends up winning it.
By the way, Mr. I was right about everything also put out a tweet yesterday saying that was Robbie Gold's first game-winning miss in 6 years of the 49ers, and then quickly deleted it. Somebody should have, screenshotted that and put it out with that meme. So guess you weren't always right about everything.
I admit, because I forget who sent that in the chat, because I had tweeted out, Robbie does this shit too much. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And they were replying with that tweet. And immediately I'm like, that's not true. He missed last year against Cincinnati. And I went to reply, but it was already deleted. I actually have this tweet from Josh Duba of the AP. Robbie Gold's 5 missed field goals from inside 50 yards are the most for a 49ers kicker in a season since David Akers had 9 in 2012. Is it time to move off of Robbie after this year?
I think so. It's just... I've never seen a person so just frustratingly nonchalant, right? For a team that is so built upon emotion and intensity, Robbie Gold is the most milquetoast chemotherapy looking dude I've ever seen in my life. It just looks like he's just counting down the days where he can get the fuck out of the team. I think he's a free agent after this year. And, he just looks like he just does not care. Yeah. And it's very frustrating to see. I mean, that kick was just, you have one job, man. You have one job. And if they would have lost yesterday, that would have been 100% on Robbie. And I know people will be like, well, the defense gave up this. It's like, you have one job, one play, But if what Tommy Huxley is saying is true and Robbie Gold was getting death threats, I mean, let's be real. That's not cool. And let's also be real. Our fan base, a lot of the time, is maybe like a hair more classy than Raiders fans, who are the worst in the league. So we got some really toxic fans. But needless to say, don't send death threats to anybody.
Yeah. Look, the thing about the 49ers having some shitty fans is that they're like one of the most popular franchises in the NFL. So just by sheer number of people, you're more likely to have some crappy ones. But yeah, obviously don't do that. I just think...
Well, that's what we always hear, right? Raiders fans suck. Niners fans suck. Cowboys fans suck. Yankees fans suck. Dodgers fans suck. And what do they all have in common? They have huge fan bases. So yeah, it's that, the bad apple ruins the bunch kind of thing.
Exactly. I think Robbie kind of acts like he's got some 9 to 5 office job that he hates. Like, I don't know why. That's the vibe I get from him. Clearly, it's all from the outside looking in, but I get that vibe from him that he's just waiting.
He's like Lumberg from Office Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'll go out and kick the ball now. Yeah.
He's waiting to retire. Yeah, he's counting down the days on his calendar at his desk. Taking some comments. Emiliano, when the ball is placed on that side of the hash of the field, pretty much had a feeling he would miss it because he sometimes pushes the ball when it's not on the other side or in the middle. Tommy, I'm done with Robbie. Ian Sharp. The funny thing is, Robbie seems to get up to the noses of the opposition. He does. Yeah, he gets up in their faces. He's practicing at halftime when their cheerleaders are out there. Like, he's that type of competitive guy. But outside of that,
I don't think it's competition. I think it's strictly being a prick. I just think he's a prick. I think he's a prick. And going back to Emiliano's comment, listen, dude, you're a professional kicker. All right. If you feel like you're pushing the ball a lot on that side, guess what? Don't push the ball.
You held the team up for money. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Held the team up for money, demanded a trade, whatever. Yep. Yeah, I'm done with it. He just, I feel like the only thing that he cares about is whatever's best for Robbie at the time. Yeah. You know, he carries himself on the sideline with his, casual nature. It looks like the only thing he's worried about is getting back to his locker and opening that game check.
Yeah. Pat Will asking which free agent kickers will be available. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I didn't look this up, but I'm tired.
I don't know, Niners. But if you miss 4 or 5 or whatever inside of 40 yards or 50 yards or whatever it was, 5 inside of 50, I mean, it's not going to be hard to replace that type of. And he's good for like 1 or 2 missed, like just shanked extra points every single season. Yep. I think he had 2 in 1 game this year.
Yep. Also, I'm tired of the 49ers signing good kickers on the backside of their career and having a solid kicker for maybe 3 to 4 years. Why can't we just have a young kicker and develop him into a longer career? We had Joe Nendy for a long time, and then we had Phil Dawson, David Akers, Robbie Gold, like all on the back end of their careers. Let's get somebody younger. Why? Maybe draft a guy. I don't know, but kickers are hard, and I hate that NFL games come down to them sometimes. Rick Diaz, it's going to be some of the haters would rather go, should have got that field goal, and let's go Niners. Yep. All right. Matt is 100,000% right. Rick Diaz, gentlemen on the panel, tell me if I'm right around what I'm going to say. The offensive line is going to play better. The secondary needs to control the line of scrimmage, and they had to play tight cover.
I think I'm not really sure I follow, but I think that, a lot of the secondary issues came from the fact that the 49ers weren't getting a lot of pressure, and a lot of that was because the Raiders offensive linemen were playing well by tackling dudes and not getting holding calls. Yeah. I think that when we've seen it, I mean, when Nick Bosa is able to get home, when Eric Armstead is able to get home, good things happen. I mean, yesterday in overtime, when Nick Bosa dog walked the left tackle right back into Jared Stidham, it was the game-ending pick. Yeah. So, yeah, good things happen.
Let's see. We need a wiry guy from Wales or something. An ex-soccer of ugly character. Yeah.
Dude, we need that cigarette smoker from The Replacements.
Yeah.
Know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah. Oh, gosh. All right. Let me see. So the 49ers still have a shot at the number 1 seed if they win next week against the Cardinals and the Eagles lose against the Giants. They switch. I think that the Eagles can drop all the way down to like 5 or something if the Cowboys win. This might be a dumb question, but do the 49ers want the number 1 seed, Matt?
I would think they do, just simply because they're banged up. Somebody in the chat is saying that, Tommy Huxley is saying that Christian McCaffrey has an ankle sprain. You get Deebo Samuel an extra week. Yeah, I think it's important for them to get healthy. Now you have to balance it against, okay, is this too much time off or whatever? I just think that particularly in the NFC, all you're really trying to do is avoid playing Philly too early. Beyond that, I think the 49ers match up well against every other team in the playoffs. Dallas scores a lot of points, but Dak throws a lot of picks, right? This defense is going to force him to make a lot of mistakes. Green Bay, I mean, that speaks for itself. Tampa Bay, we already dog walked them. I'm not worried about the other teams in the playoffs. I think that at this point, Greenlaw's injured and, Banks is injured and Debo is still working with this thing. And Christian McCaffrey has some, is nicked up. And, whoever else, Mooney Ward has had his, run-ins with injuries. You get an extra week to kind of work Elijah Mitchell back into the offense. I think that this team does enough that they stay dialed in enough. It is something that would probably be more better. I think the benefits of getting that rest outweigh the risks of rest.
Yeah,
particularly because if you think about it too, by the way, sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
The way the 49ers want to do things is ball control. And I don't think that, it's not like an intricate, super high level, oh, we're running 5 wide sets, empty sets, right? All this. It's not the Kansas City offense. The 49ers like to run first and set everything else up, I think, and they like to play physical defense. I think that is more rust resistant than some of these more finesse offenses. So I think it would actually be something that would be more beneficial. Sorry about that again.
No, you're good. I agree with you 100%. Because Kyle Shanahan was asked about it a couple of weeks ago when the number 1 seed looked a little more unrealistic. And Kyle Shanahan basically said, you know what? You can't really turn football on and off like that. He was also asked about resting starters. But I think in their case, just because they are kind of beat up in some areas, welcoming some guys back still, it would be beneficial to have that extra week of rest. Not only that, but by the way, I did see the report about Christian McCaffrey. According to Kyle Shanahan, he's day-to-day with a mild ankle sprain. Doesn't seem too serious, luckily. But the home field advantage would certainly help that much more, even though, yes, you're the 2 seed. The only time you would have to go on the road to Philadelphia would be if you both make it to the championship game. But just eliminating that possibility altogether would be worth it. Having to be able to stay at home throughout the entirety of the playoffs. In my opinion, last year, they ran out of steam because they were road dogs. I mean, they had to go on the road week 1 in the wild card at Dallas. And then they had to go to Green Bay, and then they had to go to LA. Like, it takes so much out of a team consistently having to travel. So if they could go from the 2 to the 1, I think you got to do everything in your power to make that move happen. But I think in reality, they're just going to do their job and hope everything else falls into place because they have no control over what the Eagles or the Giants do. I saw Dable say last night they will not be pulling starters. And then he said today they're going to be doing what's best for their team. I don't know. Maybe starters play a half. Hopefully that's enough. I don't really know. But hopefully they end up with a number 1 seed. It would be huge for this team. I mean, especially starting 3-4.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Philly's going to run I'm pretty sure Philly's going to run Jalen Hurts out there for this last week. We'll see. Yeah. I think that, that's something that they really got to look at. So Tommy Huxley says, we have been passing to set up the run this season. Not really. The 49ers are 23rd in terms of pass play percentage. They only pass the ball 52% of the time, 52.64. To me, that indicates that it's pretty even, particularly when you take down and distance into the situation. Third down is usually a passing down. So the fact that they're able to keep it so consistent like that. Dallas and the 49ers are around the same percentage, along with Philadelphia. And these are some of the more physical teams and some of the better teams. So, I don't know. I just think that the 49ers like to run the ball a lot.
Hit subscribe while you guys are in here. Statistically, a lot of you guys watching are not subscribed. It does help the channel. Just want to throw that out there. Get into our final thoughts. But before I do, we got to take a second to thank today's sponsor, which of course is Mybookie. Guys, we all know football. We love football. We watch football. You might as well make some money while you do with Mybookie. And right now, through the end of the regular season, you can get your first deposit of $50 or more instantly matched by going to Mybookie.ag and signing up with promo code HIVE. That's HIVE on your first deposit, and Mybookie will instantly match it. You can bet single game spreads, multi-game parlays, and win big. The feeling on a Sunday when you got like a 4 or 5 game parlay and you're so close to having that hit is unmatched. So take advantage now, guys, of that double deposit bonus with MyBookie. Mybookie.ag, promo code Hive. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. All right, Matt. Final thoughts for the 49ers Raiders game and moving forward a little bit to the Cardinals' final regular season matchup.
I thought this game was needed kick in the pants. And I think that with them playing as poorly as they did on defense, the fact that the offense was able to float the defense for once bodes well going forward. I'd like to see, again, Kyle Shanahan, they're playing for the 1 seed. They're really going to try to, and at the very least, they need this win to make sure they get at least the 2 seed. So I expect some of the players to play. I might actually expect, Elijah Mitchell to try to get a little bit of work next week to get him ready for the playoffs. I don't think they're going to risk Deebo Samuel, but at the same time, you want to see the defense come out and put forth a better effort. The Cardinals are a very vulnerable team. They're a team that's very much in turmoil. I think that Colt McCoy is going to be back for them next week. They started David Blau, I think, this last week or whatever. I don't know. It's like an NFL record for the number of starting quarterbacks. I think they're at 63 league-wide this season, which is wild. But you have to take advantage of where everything is. I don't know what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins, but he did not play this last week. I would be surprised maybe if he plays this week. He might just sit it out. But the 49ers got to go out and take care of business. Just do the things that you can do and move forward and get into the playoffs without looking past it. The post-game speech the other week, Fred Warner said, we're 1-0. Let's concentrate on being 1-0 next week. I think that's a good thing for the 49ers to do, and they need to get back to 49ers football and just, keep the blade sharp.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think as far as this game, the 49ers, this is a game they needed offensively and defensively. You said it perfectly earlier. They were feeling a little too hot, a little too untouchable, reading their own, headlines in the media a little too much. And this brought them right back down to earth. We're talking historic defense. We're talking all-time great. We're talking, 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens or whatever year the Ravens were, and 2022 Niners. Well, let's put the pause button because Jarrett Stidham just lit you guys up. Come back down to earth, get to work, make sure this doesn't happen again against a good team, because that's now all you're going to play is good teams, the best of the best. It was a much needed wake-up call, and I'm glad with how they responded. I would have been a little more concerned if they didn't come out of that with the win. Luckily, they went through it all and got the win. I think moving forward, the 49ers should be able to take care of business against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll get into that with our previous show later in the week, so we're not going to touch much into that right now. Really, really impressed by this team. Now a 9-game winning streak. Kyle Shanahan, career best. Last year, they started 8-0 before dropping that one to the Seahawks on Monday night. 9 games straight the 49ers have won. I think it's something like 72 days they have not lost a game. So I'm just really impressed by this team, man. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm trying not to think too far ahead, think what it means for the quarterback position moving forward. Let's just enjoy it while we can. But yeah, that's all my thoughts. We have a question here, though, and we'll wrap things up. Mark Cisneros, who starts next week if Christian McCaffrey rests, Mason or TDP?
I mean, I think it was, explained down below. I think that they're going to get Elijah Mitchell some touches.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. So we'll see. I think TDP will also get some more playing time. I think Kyle Shanahan's getting him in a little more, but we'll see. Cinnamon, thanks for tuning in. They exploited our weaknesses. Yeah, 100%. And hopefully that allows them to be coached up. With that all said, we're going to wrap this show up. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. Hope you all had a wonderful start to the new year. 49ers got their 9th straight, like I said, and we're all able to celebrate the new year with a win. With that all said, Matt, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Happy New Year to everybody. It was great to get a win. Very nerve-wracking at times, but sometimes better to be lucky than good. The 49ers offense looked good. The defense will catch up. Don't worry, guys. Let's concentrate on next week, getting after those Cardinals and potentially getting the number 1 seed. That being said, thank you as always for joining us. We love having you here. And until next time, go Niners.